Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 6, Text 1. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Cell phones off, please. In Dubai they have a rule, anyone's cell phone rings during the satsang, 50 dirhams fine, that's about 700 rupees.
Kaumara Achare Pragyo Dharman Bhagavataniha Durlabham Manusham Janma Tadapi Yatruvamartadam.
Prahlad Maharaj said, one who is sufficiently intelligent should use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood, to practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagements. The human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary like other bodies, it is meaningful because in human life one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. Purport: the whole purpose of Vedic civilization and of reading the Vedas is to attain the perfect stage of devotional service in the human form of life. According to the Vedic system, therefore, from the very beginning of life, the brahmacharya system is introduced so that from one's very childhood, from the age of 5 years, one can practice modifying one's human activities so as to engage perfectly in devotional service. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Even a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Modern civilization, not referring to the verdicts of Vedic literature, is so cruel to the members of human society that instead of teaching children to become brahmacharis, it teaches mothers to kill their children even in the womb on the plea of curbing the increase of population. And if by chance a child is saved, he is educated only for sense gratification. Gradually throughout the entire world, human society is losing interest in the perfection of life. Indeed, men are living like cats and dogs, spoiling the duration of their human lives by actually preparing to transmigrate again to the degraded species among the 84 lakh forms of life. The Krishna consciousness movement is anxious to serve human society by teaching people to perform devotional service which can save a human being from being degraded again to animal life. As already stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Bhagavad Dharma consists of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Dandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. In all the schools, colleges and universities and at home, all children and youths should be taught to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, they should be taught to hear the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, to put them into practice in their lives, and thus to become strong in devotional service, free from fear of being degraded to animal life. Following Bhagavad Dharma has been made extremely easy in this age of Kali. The Shastra says, Haram Nama Eva Kevalam, Kalo Nascheva Tatiranyatha. One need only chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Everyone engaged in the practice of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra will be completely cleansed from the core of his heart and be saved from the cycle of birth and death. Anyone needs translation? कोई है जो अंग्रेजी नहीं समझते? I saw one He's gone now. Oh, I know he doesn't know English very well. Seems like he's gone. Anyway. So, Sri Praharad Uvacha Kaumara Acharya Pragyo Dharman Bhagavataniha Durlabham Manusham Janma Tadapya Dhruvam Arthadam. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vande Gurun Isha Bhaktams Isham Isha Avatarakam Tat Prakasham Sachat Shri Krishna Chaitanya Sangetam. Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Gaurode Pushpavanto Chitro Shando Tamomido Pantatatvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Surupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam Bhakti Shaktikam Jayatam Surato Pangoma Mandamate Gati Himat Sarvasrupadam Bhojo Radha Madan Mohana Divyand Vrindaranya Kalpadrumatha Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srimad Govinda Devo Krishthadevi Sevimana Swaram Srimad Rasa Saram Vivam Shivata Tataskataha Karsham Venur Swanaya Gopi Gopinatha Sri Istumaha Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
In this verse, Srila Prahlad Maharaj speaks of the necessity of taking to Bhagavad Dharma. Actually, Dharma means Bhagavad Dharma. The intrinsic meaning of the word Dharma is Bhagavad Dharma, or those activities, occupational duties. Prabhupada has given the word to a translation, which are in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So actually, this is the only Dharma. But within this world, because it's not the spiritual world, there are so many other concocted dharmas. Some which are supported by the Vedas, Brahma Dharma, Raja Dharma, Stri Dharma, Dana Dharma. There are so many dharmas which are supported by the Vedas, and these are recommended for human beings, but that is not the actual dharma of the jiva, jaiva dharma, jiva surupai Krishna nityadas. That's the only actual dharma. And then there is, but conventionally in this world, dharma means activities which are recommended in the Vedic literatures. But there are only, many of these dharmas are only recommended because we are such fools and rascals that we don't take to the actual dharma, which is sarva dhamman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja, to surrender to Krishna only. There are also other kinds of adharma, vidharma, that which is against dharma, so-called dharmas or cheating dharmas, chala dharma, in the name of dharma, that which is cheating. But actual dharma means Bhagavad Dharma. Just like the word guru, sometimes that's qualified by saying Sadguru. Guru means Sadguru. If he's not Sadguru, then he's not a guru. If he Asat cannot be guru. Guru means Jaha hoite Krishna bhakti shai guru hoy. Guru means from whom Krishna bhakti is obtained. But because also conventionally there may be Shastra Guru, one who teaches Shastra, but not necessarily who gives Krishna consciousness, but who teaches Shastra. Or there may be Mridanga Guru, one who teaches how to play Mridanga. Or in the modern age, it's common to speak of management gurus. So to sometimes just to differentiate, it said Sadguru. Of course, Sadguru, this term is often used by Mayavadis who are not at all Sat. So their conception of what is Sat is also incorrect. Bhagavad Dharma, one should practice acharet iha, in this life, in this world, iha durlabham, manusham janma, manusha janma, that is rarely achieved, and within human life, the opportunity to practice Krishna consciousness, that's also rarely achieved, iha, in this life. Although in the spiritual world, it's not at all rare, it's the only activity. In the material world, to practice Krishna consciousness is rare, and to be a rascal, fool, that's normal. Sometimes they dress up the rascals and fools and give them titles like CEO and Prime Minister and Miss World and this and that, but it's just different. This is considered very respectable, but it's honor among thieves, you can say like that. There's nothing actually respectable about any situation in this material world other than that of a surrendered servant of Krishna. In the spiritual world, there's only service to Krishna. It's not that in the spiritual world, most are serving Krishna, and it's rare to find a non-devotee. A non-devotee means you're not there, you're here. The natural condition of the soul is to serve Krishna, but that is rare in this world, because the atmosphere in this world is one specially designed for forgetting Krishna. However, Krishna has given the opportunity to practice Bhagavad Dharma, even within this world. In the spiritual world, it is not a matter of practice. It is dharma, in the sense of intrinsic activity. No one has to practice how to serve Krishna. In the spiritual world, it is as natural as breathing. But in this material world, because our consciousness is now opposite, bhayam dvitiya viniveshatasya ishad apetasya viparyaha smritihi. Now we have come into the world of fear, where our consciousness is opposite to that of wanting to serve Krishna, because we are envious of Krishna. We have come to this material world. So those who are actually intelligent, pragyaha, those who have grasped what is the essence of life, they will in this world take to Krishna consciousness with the aim of fully practicing Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness is so overwhelmingly important, Prahlad Maharaj says, that it should be practiced even from the beginning of childhood. Actually, in saying so, Prahlad Maharaj is giving some kind of concession. You may say, well, that's very early to start practicing Krishna consciousness. But actually, Prahlad himself started even earlier. He started even within the womb. So actually, that should be started even within the womb. But he's speaking to his demoniac classmates, who they didn't have the chance in the womb, not already gone by this time. So you start now. It's already late. You're already 5 years old and you didn't start practicing Krishna consciousness. So better late than never, he's saying. Now a question may be raised that one who is intelligent should take to Krishna consciousness. So anyone who understands what is Krishna consciousness understands that intelligence means to take to Krishna consciousness. Anything else is not intelligent. One may be a member, what's that society where they have only people with very high IQs? Mensis? Mensis it's called? Any Mensis members here? Huh? Mensa, something like that. So you've got to have an IQ of at least 140, or, is it? See, I don't have enough brain to even remember what the name is or how much IQ you should have. But anyway, you have to be pretty damn smart. to be a member of it, more than the average software engineer in Bangalore. So don't be too puffed up. But we find that spiritually they're mostly fools and rascals because they don't take to Krishna consciousness. They're so intelligent and they use their intelligence for making up puzzles that others can't solve or solving puzzles that others have made. There was this cube, what was that? Rubik's cube. It was made by Mr. Rubik. Anyway, and they're trying to work, and then someone worked it out, and now it's... So how many millions of hours were wasted all over the world trying to solve that one? But not actually intelligent, because they don't ask the proper question. Even the proper question they don't ask. They ask, how can I earn more money? Or how can we solve this complex mathematical problem? There are always mathematical problems, unsolved mathematical problems. They're always there. They solve some problem and they discover some new one. So the mathematicians, they busy themselves and bother themselves, spending their whole lives trying to solve some abstruse problem which is no interest to the rest of human society. And they may die without it being solved, or they might solve it and get the Nobel Prize. Then some other problem will come. So, foolishly wasting their lives without asking the real question, what is the actual purpose of life? So many of them, they foolishly subscribe. Mostly people subscribe to the evolutionary theory. And they just presume that everything has come from, the whole of existence has come from nothing. The whole of existence is the material world. It has all come from nothing. And the humans, or all species of life, have come into being by chance. And they apply their intelligence on the basis of this to all spheres of human so-called knowledge. For instance, in psychology they have theories. Sigmund Freud had his theory of Oedipus complex, that every man is sexually attracted to his mother. Pretty strange, but anyway, it's one of Freud's theories. And Freud had his brilliant theory about religion, that originally man was a hunter species, and there must have been in each group of Stone Age men or prior Stone Age man, that one man would be dominant and he would dominate all the women, and therefore his sons were afraid of him and envious of him, therefore they feared him. And this went so deeply into the psyche that nowadays, even though fathers aren't like that, we believe in a God who dominates everything and we're afraid of him. Doesn't at all fit the description of Krishna, but because in Christianity they have a concept of God who's the Father, who you should be afraid of. So Freud, with his brilliant deduction, came up with this theory. And like this, all the different sciences are going on. Anthropology, that the apes were jumping through the trees, and then some of them became, by genetic mutation, some of them became bigger and stronger, so they couldn't jump through the trees anymore, because the trees hadn't grown as fast as they had. So they jumped down from the trees, then to get the fruit they had to reach up, and then they became human beings. Don't laugh, it's in the Encyclopedia Britannica. I read it in there. You're not laughing at the Encyclopedia Britannica, are you? Shastra Ninda. So he's not laughing. He's a respectable member of society. Yeah, I laughed too when I read it, but I thought this is Encyclopedia Britannica. This is considered like highly respectable. This is knowledge. You see, you give it to your children and they read it, and they become highly knowledgeable. So the whole human society is very intelligent but foolish, because the very basis of their theories is complete nonsense. So that's one reason why they're not intelligent. Another reason is that's rather a symptom of their lack of intelligence. But the real missing link in the hole in their head regarding intelligence, why they're not actually intelligent, is that they don't ask the really important question: what is the purpose of life? So one who is actually intelligent, they take to Krishna consciousness. They understand, atato brahma jignasa, now we should inquire into the absolute truth. And such a person may not be very materially intelligent. We find many people who they cannot even write their own name, or maybe that's all the writing ability they have. They're not... of course, there are some people who are, what's that called? They have dyslexia, they can't read properly, but they're very intelligent. But some people just never learn. They never learn, they never went to school, they never learned to read and write. But they take to Krishna consciousness and they can understand philosophy very deeply. There are many cases of devotees who they never studied at school or any such thing, but just by hearing from devotees, they can meet with professors and discuss with them what is Krishna consciousness, which also gives us the clue as to how Prahlad Maharaj is talking about Kumara Acharet Pragyo. One who is intelligent should even from childhood take to Krishna consciousness. Now a child is generally not considered to be very intelligent. Or even if they're very intelligent, they may not be very learned. The intelligence is only latent. There may be an intelligent child, but the child has to be trained to harness that intelligence. If the intelligence is not developed by education, then the intelligence won't actually be developed. One has, just like the body of a child may be quite strong, but unless he's allowed to exercise, that won't develop very strongly. So in the same way, the intelligence needs to be exercised and trained, then it can develop. So how can we expect that a child will be very intelligent to take to Krishna consciousness? Well, we get the clue to this answer is there in as much as someone who is very maturely intelligent may be competing for the full number one prize with everyone else in the world, and someone who is not materially considered very intelligent may demonstrate their spiritual intelligence even more than that of many rishis and munis by taking to Krishna consciousness. So here we are talking of a different kind of intelligence. The spiritual intelligence to take to Krishna consciousness is not a product of material intelligence. That spiritual intelligence comes by association with those who are spiritually intelligent. That spiritual intelligence is imparted by those who are spiritually intelligent. Bhaktya sanjataya bhaktya. Bhakti comes as a result of bhakti, not by any material means. Janma koti sukritaya nalabhyate. Even by pious material activities, in millions of births, one cannot get Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness comes from Krishna consciousness, and Krishna consciousness is given by devotees. Bhaktistu bhagavat bhakta sangena parijayate. this bhakti is imparted as a result of association with devotees. So actually here intelligence means Krishna consciousness. One who is, so what's actually being stated here, in another way, if we can say that one who is Krishna conscious will practice Krishna consciousness. But here the word is intelligent is given, because this intelligence to take to Krishna consciousness, or the intelligence by which one practices Krishna consciousness, that means that function of bhakti, that function which is at the basis of one's decision to take to bhakti, or the impelling desire to take to bhakti, which is based on vivek, intelligent discrimination. The intelligent discrimination means to see that there is this world and everything in it, and it stinks, top to bottom, inside out, upside down, every way. There's nothing in this material world of any benefit for the jiva. Everything within this material world is, if taken as an object of one's enjoyment, everything herein is an anartha. That which, anartha means that which blocks one's development of Krishna consciousness, or that which is extrinsic to the soul. The material condition is, by its nature, anartha. Tadapi adhruvam arthatam. In this verse, Prahlad Maharaj uses the word arthatam, that which gives value. So again here, value or meaning, this again means Krishna consciousness. So pragyaha, that means the state of being Krishna conscious. Bhagavad dharma, that means the whole practice of Krishna consciousness. And artha, that means Krishna conscious. So Krishna consciousness being emphasized here throughout, but different aspects of Krishna consciousness. The intelligence to take to the practice of Krishna consciousness, which will give the desired result, which is Krishna consciousness. So this one who has intelligent discrimination can see that this material condition, it is an anartha. It is anartha. It is extrinsic or opposite to the actual artha, jivartha, the goal of life, which is Krishna consciousness. Therefore, an intelligent person, seeing this, takes to Krishna consciousness, does not endeavor for anything in this material world. Tasyaiva heito prayateta kovido nalabhyate yad upri adha. What is that? Tadukavad. Oh no. I'm definitely not Mensa material. I forgot the verse again. Anyway, the purport of this verse is that one who is actually intelligent and kovida, philosophically inclined, they should not endeavor for anything that is obtainable within this universe, understanding that everything within it, from the top to the bottom, is not, everything here is temporary, adhruvam, this word is used here, adhruvam, impermanent, temporary. Rather, one should endeavor for, one who is actually intelligent, should endeavor for that which will not be destroyed. Therefore we say, everyone in this material world who's not a devotee of Krishna is unintelligent. So you may say they have great intelligence, but it's not actually intelligence. It is like the animal's intelligence. The animals, sometimes you see animals have intelligence. They have intelligence how to find food. The animal has intelligence. Arctic terns, they have the intelligence to navigate their way from the North Pole to the South Pole every year. So they have intelligence. The salmon, one type of fish, it's born in the river, in fresh water, swims out to the sea, and comes back again after swimming around in the sea, comes back to the same spot the female salmon to lay her eggs. So the intelligence is there, how to swim around in the sea and come back to the same point. So that is intelligence. But it's not the intelligence that will lead us to attain the actual artha, the actual goal of life. So therefore, any intelligence in this material world that is utilized in this material world for any goal other than attaining that which is permanent, which means Krishna consciousness, that is simply foolishness. That is true even of the Mayavadis, who they think they're endeavoring for that which is permanent, but they do not have knowledge of that which is actually permanent. Na sate vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate satah. That which is sat, that which is actually sat, that which is actually essential, that is permanent. And that, everything else, but that particular, what shall we say? Vastu, we can say. Vastu, that's all. Krishna is also Vastu. Vastava Vastu. He's the actual, substantial Vastu. So everything else but that, by its very nature, is impermanent. So the Mayavadis, they think that they give themselves names like Sadananda. But they're taking pleasure in that which only appears to be temporal, but which is not permanent. Yenye ravindaksha vimukta maninas tvayasta bhavat avishuddha buddhaya aruhya kritrena parang padang tatang patantyado adho anarita yushvadangaha. They think that we have come to the permanent situation, but because they're envious of Krishna, they neglect to worship His lotus feet, despite their severe endeavors in rising to the parampad, in rising to the spiritual position. They're not actually properly in the spiritual position because they've neglected to worship Krishna, and therefore they must fall down again. The sad story of the Mayavadis. So only Krishna consciousness is permanent, only Krishna consciousness is real, and the intelligence to take to Krishna consciousness, that may be attained by many lifetimes of trying to understand what is sat, what is asat. Neti neti, not this, not that. Bahunam janmana amante jnanavamam prapandate. After many lifetimes of attempting to discriminate between what is real and what is not real, one may come to the conclusion, Vasudeva, yes, he is real. And everything else is real only in as much as it has connection with him. That is one way of attaining knowledge. Another way is to get that from those who are knowledgeable. So this transmission of Krishna consciousness can be given even in childhood, even within the womb. There is no material bar to transmission of Krishna consciousness, nor is it dependent upon any material condition. Krishna consciousness means directly the dharma of the jiva. Whatever the material covering of the jiva may be, the Krishna consciousness can be transmitted to him. Therefore we find that Prahlad Maharaj took to Krishna consciousness even within the womb. Dhruv Maharaj took to Krishna consciousness in childhood. Ajamil took to Krishna consciousness at the time of death. Even animals can take to Krishna consciousness. There is no material bar to taking to Krishna consciousness, nor is there any particular material condition that lends itself to taking to Krishna consciousness. But there is the spiritual condition or the facility of that facilitates Krishna consciousness, which is association with those who have it. Therefore, Bharatavarsha is said, it's said to be more favorable for taking to Krishna consciousness than other places. So you say, well, that's a material condition. But actually it's not a material condition. It just, by the will of the Lord, traditionally more devotees and the atmosphere of Krishna consciousness is there. Therefore, it is said to be. But otherwise, one who has association with pure devotees at the North Pole is in a better situation spiritually than one who doesn't have association with pure devotees, even living in a holy place in India. One may live on the bank of the Ganga, but if he doesn't have association with pure devotees, he's not as fortunate as one who has never heard of the Ganga and gets association with pure devotees. If one associates with pure devotees, then surely you'll hear of Ganga, for she is the very dear servant of Krishna. Gangara parasha hoile paschate bhava tomara. What is that? By bathing in the Ganga after many lifetimes or after a long time, one may become purified. Then how does the next line go? Darshane pavitra karo eito margo. But just by seeing you, Narottam Das prays, then immediately one is purified. So seeing, of course, seeing, it may be just by seeing a devotee. Sometimes that happens. Just by seeing, the heart is changed. But generally that seeing is the seeing through the ear. Darshan means seeing through the ear, the words of a sadhu that will impart Krishna consciousness to others. Often the words of a sadhu, the first words, they are to impart vivek, discrimination, to persons who do not have that discrimination. In this way, the sadhu cuts the material attachments by avoiding discrimination. That's why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that the only duty of the sadhu is to cut the material attachments of those who are materially attachments by applying the sword of unpleasant words. So these unpleasant words, they award discrimination. If someone tells her that you are spoiling your life, I don't want to hear that. If we tell that, yes, you just chant Hare Krishna, okay, I might do sometimes. But you are spoiling your life. You are living like an animal. No one likes to hear such things, like a slap in the face. But if you hear, then slap in the may wake up. Oh, yes, I'm spoiling my life. I'm living like an animal. So this, generally the mercy of devotees in the first stages comes in what is considered unpleasant, an unpleasant way that gives intelligence. Actually, the intelligence to be Krishna conscious, that is there in everyone's heart. Therefore, no one becomes Krishna conscious. No one becomes a Vaishnava. Everyone is already Krishna conscious. Everyone is already a Vaishnava. But that dormant Krishna consciousness has to be woken up, has to be revived. So, if we just ask people, well, chant Hare Krishna, but if there's no awakening in their heart of why they should chant Hare Krishna, then they may think, well, it's a nice pious thing to do. Maybe, yeah, it's Mahamada, maybe I'll do it. But it doesn't bring, if we just ask people to chant Hare Krishna, of course some people, we may just in passing, you please chant Hare Krishna. But actually we find that very often in his preaching, Srila Prabhupada, he wouldn't, when on meeting them, he wouldn't ask them to chant Hare Krishna. It wouldn't be the first thing he would say. Rather, he would speak to them tattva gyan, knowledge of reality, to convince them why they should chant Hare Krishna. To give them the intelligence by which they would begin to understand that I must chant Hare Krishna. It is absolutely necessary that I chant Hare Krishna. If I don't chant Hare Krishna, then I'm going to lose the boon of human life. So that intelligence the sadhu gives, even to a child may take this up. That what is the necessity of taking to Krishna consciousness? We may say, yes, it's very nice, you'll feel happy, this, that. That's all right. But we may say like that, but no one will take to Krishna consciousness very seriously unless they are convinced of the overwhelming necessity to do so. I was asked to speak to the youth, so I thought I'd speak this verse, which here Prahlad Maharaj is saying, better late than never. You didn't take it up in the womb, so take it up from childhood. So in youth, better late than never. Better take up Krishna consciousness now. Already we spoiled so many years of our lives, as Prahlad Maharaj will explain, how we spoil childhood in playing, and then youth in study, and then the adult life in pursuing a career, and the end of life playing tiddlywinks and watching Tom and Jerry on TV, and then we become a cat or a mouse, something like that. So this way we are spoiling our human life. So we already spoiled so many years. People may say that, why do you want to spoil your youth? You're young, you can enjoy. When you're at least 99 and a half years old, then only you should think about spiritual life. When you can know, when you've got nothing else to do, but then even then, if you walk in, an old person may take to Krishna consciousness and say, you see, there's a good program on the TV. Why don't you can take to Krishna consciousness afterwards. There are so many things we may do. There's always something that Maya can offer. But if we consider that we're young, we can enjoy life, then why not enjoy now, enjoy material life now, and take to spiritual life later? It seems like an intelligent proposition. It is not an intelligent proposition. It is a foolish proposition. Because one thing is, there's no guarantee that we'll live to see tomorrow's sunrise, or even the midday of today. Nishvasa, naiva vishvasa. Even the next breath, we cannot be certain. There's no certainty. Death may come at any time. So that's one consideration. Another consideration is that there's no use to be foolish for any amount of time. There is no enjoyment in material life, so why try to enjoy it? You may think, well, we'll enjoy now, and then when we have lost our capacity to enjoy, then to enjoy the body, then we can imply the mind and the intelligence to higher things. But one who's intelligent understands that anyway there is no enjoyment in material life. We may have lots of youthful energy which we can spend for running after a ball, or running after a woman, or running around doing something, or running after a career. But it's all foolishness. It is anartha. It is a waste of the human form of life. It is a waste of our energy. It is a waste of our intelligence. It's a waste of our body. It's a waste of everything. Everything's spoiled. We may say, well, now I can get ahead and develop a great career. But there's no such thing as a great career. So how are you going to develop it? It's just a career. That's also a word which means, just like a car when it's out of control, we say it careers. That means it skids here and there. And so that's what your career is. It means you're skidding here and there. You try to get a hold of it, but it's probably going to crash. And if you can get out alive, you feel lucky. So that's the great career. It's like being in a car that's out of control, skidding and ready to crash. So you may say, well, we can pursue this now, but what is the point, actually? Of course, it may be said this can be dovetailed in Krishna consciousness, but intrinsically, we should be convinced there is absolutely no value to anything in this material world unless it is fully dovetailed. Dovetail means subordinate to any activity, the motivation for any activity. Unless it's fully subordinate to the goal of satisfying Krishna, then it is useless. Of course, we might think that, well, I have this attachment and therefore I'll do it and I'll offer the result to Krishna. That's karma yoga. That's not bhakti. That will not have the same result as acting for the pleasure of Krishna within this world. There's a difference in attitude. The karma yogi and the bhakti yogi, their activities in many ways may be the same or highly similar, but there's a difference of attitude. The bhakti yogi, he may also be a CEO in a company or a street sweeper or whatever. But if he's a bhakti yogi, he does so considering what situation I'm in this material world. Pursuing this course is the best I can do for satisfying Krishna. But that doesn't mean that he just pursues a career, and that in and of itself is Krishna conscious. But rather, he may do so seeing that the opportunity to spread Krishna consciousness is there within it. Otherwise, there's no use. But the karma yogi thinks, well, I want to have a great career, and well, Krishna's there, so he'll bless me, and I'll offer something to him. And I'll enjoy myself, and I'll offer some of the result to Krishna. So that's also Krishna consciousness. Some consciousness of Krishna is there. But that is not very satisfying to Krishna. Only bhakti is satisfying to Krishna. Not even what to speak of karma, even jnana and yoga, they're not satisfying. They may satisfy Krishna to some little extent. But nasadhyati nam yoga dharma sankhya cha udhava. Naswadhayastapasya go yata bhakti amamarjita. Lord Krishna tells Uddhava that nothing, even though it may be considered very pious, yoga, following the rules and regulations of material life as outlined in the Dharma Shastras, Sankhya, attempting to discriminate what is right, what is this material world, study of Shastra, performing austerities, performing tyaga, giving up objects of sense gratification. None of these things can satisfy Krishna in the same way as bhakti, which means activities performed solely for Krishna's pleasure. So this is what Prahlad Maharaj is speaking of. Just the opposite to the education of the demons. The education of the demons is how we can all live together and cooperate together to help facilitate each other's sense gratification. And if in the course of doing so, an individual finds the opportunity to stab someone else in the back to promote his own supposed self-interest, and then that will also be done. Of course, there are rules and regulations how to do this in human society, therefore they have contracts and all this kind of thing. But if you can legally cheat someone, then that's acceptable, because it's his own fault. He wasn't intelligent enough. If in the course of pursuing your career, you can make politics against someone who's actually more fit for promotion than you, and have him thrown out and push yourself up, this is all acceptable in the karmi way of life. But for a devotee, he acts only for the satisfaction of Krishna, which may make it difficult to have a successful career, because to get promoted you have to do all politics and all this kind of thing, but devotee doesn't do that. So if it's not only on merit that you go up in the world, it's mostly by kissing the boots of those who are already up. And if possible, you kiss their boots, you come up to their level, and if possible, you kick them on the head with your boots. That's how you get up in the world, that's how you get promoted. So, pursuing to become highly successful materially is not necessarily, but often antithetical to the endeavor to become highly successful spiritually. And actually success means spiritual. There's no success. What is the success of being a CEO or a Bill Gates, and in the next life you become a frog? What is the success? There's no success. What is the success? Even if in the next life you become like Bill Gates, and the life after that, and the life after that, and the life after that, still you're a failure. Because failure means not to be Krishna conscious. So what should we advise the youth? Prahlad Maharaj was advising his schoolmates that which was not, it was actually for in their best interest, but not at all what their teachers were teaching them. They went to a very high-class school, the palace school. They were being educated along with the sons of the king. So it was a very prestigious school. And prestigious school means the teachers were picked very carefully, and the curriculum was considered first class. How to become a first class demon. That is what they're being taught. Which is what's taught in the schools nowadays. Same thing. Maybe not as expert as Hiranyakashipu. If you really want to be a success, then be like Hiranyakashipu. Bill Gates is not nearly as successful as Hiranyakashipu. Bill Gates has only got a little bit of money, but Hiranyakashipu he had the illusion of being the Lord of the universe. No, he didn't just have a business empire, he had the whole universe. The whole universe from Swargaloka down. So he was a great success, and he was doing some charitable activities, opening schools, just to show that he's a nice guy after all. And all the top elite, or elite as they say in India, because they wrongly pronounce it, they were, or elites, which is another mispronunciation and the grammatical error also. So all the elites used to send their, actually it's even a misuse of the word, so 3 ways, that's wrong English. Anyway, it's Indian English. The elites used to send their children to the palace school to be taught by none other than the sons of the guru of the demons, and they were taught in all relevant subjects such as how to cheat others, how to make politics, how to push your own personal interest ahead, and so on. But Prahlad Maharaj taught them Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Dandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam, which was not pleasing to Shanda and Amarka, the teachers, which was opposite to what they were teaching. And Prahlad Maharaj's teaching was not only an extracurricular activity, it was an anti-curricular activity. And when he found out, he got in a lot of trouble. He was spoiling Hiranyakashipu's reputation. So if we are to say this kind of thing, if we're to teach that everything else except Krishna consciousness is not only a waste of time, if it's a waste of time, you can say, well, that's kind of neutral, not very good and not very bad. It's not only a waste of time, but it is the worst poison. It is worse than drinking poison, is to engage in anything but Krishna consciousness. So if we say this is absolutely, of course it's a fact, but it's antithetical to everything the whole materialistic society stands for. So we can understand when our preaching is successful, is that those who are of demoniac disposition, they don't like it. As Prabhupada explained in one purport in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, that all over the world, at that time there was a lot of opposition to the devotees chanting in the streets, and Prabhupada was saying, well, that's very good. It just shows that there's something of substance there. Otherwise they wouldn't be so upset. The demons wouldn't become upset if there was just something that they considered foolish, then they wouldn't be upset. But they can understand, as Prabhupada wrote in another purport, the world is feeling the weight of this Krishna consciousness movement, because they can understand that it's a threat to their demoniac society. So youth should take this up. Why only youth? Everyone. Everyone is a youth. Everyone is an old man, because this span of life is so short that everyone can be considered 80 years old, just born, only 80 years ago. An old man, 12 years old. Why old? Because he's very close to death, maximum 80 years away. And what is the adruvam? This span, this human life is temporary. We make these divisions, youth, old age, but whatever it may be, we don't have any time. Meditate to Krishna consciousness right now. But instead they're encouraging the foolishness of youth. In the Western world, youth is considered a very foolish time. In Indian culture, the youth, they're trained from the very childhood so as not to be foolish. Because there's no brahmacharya in the Western world or in modern life. Therefore the youth are foolish. Why is that? Because in youth after puberty, there's very strong sexual desire. So that sexual desire causes one to be foolish. That's the whole material world is running on the foolishness of pungsastriya mitani bhavame tantayaraho hridya grantimahu. The very basis of material existence. Of course, the underlying basis is envy of Krishna, but that is manifested as, instead of being attracted to Krishna, the soul whose knowledge of Krishna is covered by his own desire that it be covered, instead desires sexual enjoyment. So this sexual desire becomes very prominent in youth, which causes youths who are not trained in brahmacharya to act very foolishly. So in the Western world, it's considered that youth, they have some kind of license to act in a foolish way. It's considered, they're kids, they're getting drunk and fighting and breaking things up. Anyway, they're just kids. It's some, of course, they may be, if it's too much, they may be arrested by the police and this and that. But some time ago I read in the newspaper that the son of Tony Blair, the Prime Minister of England, was arrested for drunken behavior. And he was taken to the police station, and Tony had to come, and he was told off, and he was taken away. So it's considered, anyway, they're kids. So, they get drunk and they run around screaming and yelling, anyway, they're children. So but in Vedic culture, one is trained from the very beginning not to be foolish, sense control, how to serve the Guru, how to act politely, how to study the Vedas from the very beginning of life. Not very beginning, but from Kumara, from the Kumar age. So eventually the brahmacharya system broke down, but still the culture was going on, respect the parents, this and that, and that all broke down. When it would seem that when sense gratification only becomes the goal of life, then no one will respect anyone else, because no one is respectable. Now they teach at school, you should respect your parents and teachers, and no one respects their teachers or parents. There should be no need to teach it in the school, but they're attempting to teach it in the school because at home they're not doing it, and they don't respect their teachers and parents because they see that there's nothing in them to be respected. They're not respectable people. Just by their position, the teacher, parent, no one will respect. If you see that they, like yourself, are simply interested in sense gratification, then why should you have any respect for them? So this came up in the 1960s. It was a whole wave of the hippie movement came up, in which they left their parents. We don't care about your parents. We don't care about career. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your control. Bob Dylan song. For the times they are a-changing. So things were changing because the religion was thrown out, forgotten, the goal of life, only sense gratification. And then why shall anyone respect anyone else? Why should you respect your teacher? Why should you respect the Prime Minister even? No one is respectable. No one has any respect for anyone because no one is respectable. The children see that my parents, they're just like me, like a dog. They're running, the parents or the teachers. I would see at school, the teachers, you could see the main interest of the teachers was not in educating the students, but in running around after the young female teachers and the young girls at school. That was what they were most interested in. So why should you respect them? It's the same as me. That's what I'm interested in. So it's a parampara of dogs and cats. Actually, you don't need parampara. Parampara means knowledge that is handed down. But that you don't need parampara for. Because that is the latent envy of Krishna is manifested as sexual desire. So youth in general is considered foolish, and indulgence in foolishness is advertised as the pleasure that we should enjoy during youth. But now you're young, you have money, go to a party, enjoy yourself, go to disco, dance. This means this is considered pleasure, that is indulgence in foolishness. So one should take to Krishna consciousness, at the very least, to save himself from being a fool. And actually, we'll find that youth, although indulgent youth, although they're running around and dressing up in fashions and saying, "Ah, we're having a great time," but inside, all the time they experience anxiety, isn't it? The anxiety of thinking, what are others thinking of me? And making a show so that others will think, yeah, he's a great guy. Isn't it? I know from my own youth. Full of anxiety.
and all these, and you dance like this, and you behave like this, and yeah man, it's cool, and let's do that. But it's all just a show, because in the movies and the TV, and it's shown you're supposed to behave like this, and then you behave like, am I doing it right? Did I really? I told a joke, are they all going to laugh? And acting in a very loud kind of way and gross kind of way. Always thinking, what are others thinking of me? Foolishness. And while making a big show of being on top of the world and everything's great and I'm really happy, but inside full of anxiety, emptiness, there's nothing there for all this running around and wearing fashionable clothes and driving motorbikes fast and all this. But it's all a big show to cover up that inside there is nothing. There's no happiness. And so we're always busy all the time. Busy at work. What is that advertisement? Work hard, party harder. They had some advertisement last time I was in Bangalore. They probably changed it. It's an advertisement for some shirts. So, of course, if you buy the shirt, that doesn't mean it's got no relationship to working harder or partying harder, but it's by, like that, they sell the Pepsi, isn't it, by showing the cricket star, by association. You don't become a cricket star by drinking Pepsi. But the idea is that by drinking it, you'll become as good or as bad as they are. So, like this, it's a culture of foolishness. Work hard, get money, and then buy all the things that we're making so you don't have any money left. So you have to work hard to get more money, and you have to work hard to get more money, and then buy more things, and then we'll make more money because we're making more and more things, and we're inventing more and more things all the time that you can buy, and you'll be happy, but you're never happy. So, and then frantic, working hard, partying harder, and we have to run around this, and we actually the body is totally exhausted, so flick some intoxicate, drink coffee in the morning, strong, so you can get up and face another day's work. Don't ever think about anything. Don't really think what is the purpose of life. Anyway, there's no time to think about it. And I was just thinking, what's this all about? Hey, come to the party. Oh, okay. The whole society is set up to make you a big fool. Anyway, in this material world, we're foolish. But how to become a very great fool. And the principal symptom of this foolishness is that we'll think we are very intelligent in doing so. And who is the greatest fool? They will take, oh, he is the most intelligent, he is the most successful. So, youth, this is mostly misspent. It can be misspent, but it can be utilized properly also. Now that there is some youthful vigor, that should be engaged in the service of Krishna, because we don't have much time. We're all going to die very soon. Do you know that? You're all going to die very soon. And when people say this, you start to get an anxiety. You give blessings, you expect to give blessings, chirayu, and have a long life. What's the use of a long life if you're not... Anyway, you'll have long life after life after life in this material world. If you don't become Krishna conscious. So better, you're supposed to get blessing for long life. Real blessing for long life means die soon and go to Krishna. Then you'll have long life. There's no long life otherwise. So Krishna consciousness means to actually become intelligent. Otherwise, youth is spoiled, childhood is spoiled, youth is spoiled, old age is spoiled, our whole existence is spoiled without being Krishna conscious. So, rather than spoiling youth for chasing after that which does not exist, the pot at the end of the rainbow, we should chase after that, which endeavor for that which is of actual value The only thing of actual value is Krishna consciousness. There's nothing in this world of any value whatsoever. We may say, well, it is better to be rich than poor. It is better to be healthy than unhealthy. Well, if it serves the purpose of Krishna consciousness, yes. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, it's better to have less money and be Krishna conscious than to have more money and not be Krishna conscious. It's better to be unhealthy and be Krishna conscious than be healthy and not Krishna conscious. Of course, in our neophyte condition, without good health, we may find it difficult to be Krishna conscious, but good health in itself is not a blessing. In fact, good health without Krishna conscious is more of a curse, because then we have more opportunity to engage in sense gratification, which will drag us to hell, which will take us away from Krishna consciousness. So, we should understand this very clearly, that the only necessity of human life is Krishna consciousness. Anything else, well, can be utilized in Krishna consciousness, but Krishna consciousness is the essential, it is the need. Everything else is extrinsic. We may think, yes, it's better to be rich than poor, better to be Bill Gates than Bill Smith. That's Bill Smith means just nobody. You may say, well, if you can be, why not? But actually, it's not better. No better. You can say maybe better in what sense? That well, here you have some stool, stinking stool, and here you have more stinking stool. So which is better, more stinking stool or less stinking stool? If it's an anartha, if the attachment to material things, that is an anartha. So if we have more, then that's more of an attachment, it's worse. Just a few days ago, some people came to me very distressed. They'd lost crores and crores of rupees in some... So I told them, you're very lucky, you lost so many material attachments. Krishna is very kind to you. I don't know if they appreciate it. They're maybe wanting some blessing, they can get their money back. But I told them, actually, you're lucky because you are thinking this is my money. That's a thief's mentality. It's not your money. You didn't actually lose anything because it wasn't yours anyway. It's all Krishna's. So, if you can be relieved of the thief's mentality of thinking I have so much money, but I lost so much, that will be your actual benefit. So, Krishna consciousness means to understand everything in terms of Krishna consciousness. There is nothing of value in this world. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj, who, without having to do the endeavor of Hiranyakashipu, of performing severe austerities and conquering all over the universe, he had the whole universe given to him on a plate. His father was, here, take, you will be my successor, or you can live with me, because Hiranyakashipu thought he was going to live forever. You can get everything desirable in the universe, I'm giving to you. I'm so kind, because you are my son. Take it. Prahlad Maharaj rejected it like stool. I'm not interested in this. I only want Krishna consciousness. Later, Nrsimhadev gave him the post of okay, now you be the king of the world. You do so. You're a devotee. You're fit to be. Hiranyakashipu wasn't. But Prahlad had no intrinsic interest in all these things, even though it was given to him without any endeavor. So let us consider the character of Prahlad Maharaj and make our goal of life to follow in his footsteps, follow in the footsteps of the Mahajans. So then the question comes, well, I'm young, should I marry, should I pursue a career, this, that? All these questions come up. So all of these should be answered in light of the consideration that human life is meant for development of Krishna consciousness. Then the answer comes. So then the answer may be that, well, then we should just give up everything and become Krishna conscious. Well, if anyone thinks like that, then they didn't understand what is Krishna conscious, because we can't give up anything. We don't have anything to give up. It's the thief's mentality. Do I have to give everything up? And if you're thinking like that, then you're a thief. First of all, stop being a thief. Then you'll understand you don't have anything to give up. But for prosecution of Krishna consciousness, it may be that in our own particular situation, it may be that intrinsically it is best just leave everything. Even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, on several occasions, he took young men, they're preached to about Krishna consciousness, they understood the necessity, took them out of family life. Young man, young child. So the man told that young man, I want to train my son, Gauradas, how to worship the deities. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati wrote it back to him that there are millions of Gauradases all over the world, tying people in material life. You come here, come out. So, young wife, young child, he came out and gave him sannyas. No consideration. Who will look after the wife? Who will look after the children? Because on the platform of what is the actual necessity. But if we don't have if realistically speaking we don't have the determination to maintain such a status, because if one does so, then we'll find that there's the whole gang of relatives coming and telling that no, this is wrong. And if we're not fully convinced of the absolute necessity to take to Krishna consciousness, then it may be advisable that we pursue Krishna consciousness in a less renounced situation. But pursuit of Krishna consciousness must be the goal of our life. Otherwise, it's living death. Anything but Krishna consciousness. If we have any other goal of life than to be Krishna conscious, then it is not life. It's zombie existence. Now, within our lives, we may also have, certainly if we have family, then we have certain duties and certain goals for them. But again, everything must be focused on the overwhelming need to become Krishna conscious, by which Prahlad Maharaj, even though being trained in how to rule the universe, that's pretty important training, isn't it? He wasn't interested. He wants to hear about Krishna. So that understanding. And actually he was educated in political affairs, and he was given charge of the universe. So you could say that education came in useful for discharging his duties as a devotee. So like that, materialistic education may be useful in as much as we can discharge functions within this material world, taking help of that. But we should know very clearly that in and of itself it has no value. One may be a computer engineer or an electrical engineer for when I first went to Moscow and we met a devotee, we asked him, you're studying at told he's studying at university, what are you studying? He said, electrical systems for intercontinental missiles. That was 20 years old, that was his subject of study. So whatever it may be, we may be studying. We may be studying the history, geography, or languages, whatever it may be. We should understand that these things are useful only in as much as they they're useful, they have no direct application to Krishna consciousness. But if in
my activities in this material world, I'm able to further the cause of Krishna consciousness, then only they have use. Intrinsically they have no use whatsoever. To be a brilliant mathematician, to be a successful businessman, to be a responsible family man, all these things have no intrinsic value of their own, but inasmuch as they may be utilized in Krishna consciousness, then only they can be considered as worthwhile activities. And this Prahlad Maharaj's teaching, his teachings are very powerful. That's summarized in one small booklet, Transcendental Teachings of Prahlad Maharaj. Prabhupada wanted this book mass distributed. So if you can distribute that will be very valuable for human society, which is, as ever, laboring under the Hiranyakashipu misconception that life's desires should be aimed at satisfying the senses. Whereas the Bhagavad says that life's desires should not be aimed at satisfying the senses. One should desire to live only in as much as it facilitates development of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Is there any question about this? Comment? Or protest? That's also. Yeah. You mentioned that we were envious of Krishna, therefore we came to this material world. How many times have we heard this question? How is it to be possible to be envious of Krishna in the spiritual world? Please help me understand. It's not possible, therefore, when we become Krishna conscious, or when we become non-Krishna, when that tendency develops, then we come to the material world. It's not possible to be envious of Krishna in the spiritual world. As soon as that tendency manifests, we're no longer in the spiritual world, then we're in the material world. That the tendency can manifest even in the spiritual world is understood by the point that we have minute independence by which we can choose to serve Krishna or not. If we don't have that choice, then there's no question of love, because love means the voluntary desire to serve. That presupposes misuse of, that we have that independence to choose to serve Krishna or not, presupposes that it can also be misused. Anything else? Yeah. I didn't actually mention about preaching to animals, but I said that animals can also be Krishna conscious. So you can preach to animals by going door to door and giving them Prabhupada's books. I mean, I'm talking about the two-legged animals, not the four-legged animals they keep in their houses. Now they keep dogs in their houses. Before they used to keep them outside because they recognized there was a difference between the human and the dog. But now there's not that much difference, then why keep the dog outside? Might as well keep them inside. Man's best friend. You want to preach to animals? Well, for the animals, Durlabham Manusham Janma Tadapya Dhruvam Artata. Among the human species is distinguished from the animal species because in the human form of life there is the possibility to cultivate Krishna consciousness, without doing which Dharmena Hina Pashubhya Naranam. Human being is just like an animal. So actually in human form of life, there's the possibility of vivek, discrimination based on intelligent discrimination. Well, discrimination means intelligent discrimination. So discrimination based on knowledge. So that is possible in the human form of life. In the animal form of life, give them prasad and let them hear the holy names. But it's more important to preach to the humans, actually.
Maharaj, in this verse also it comes rarity of human form of life.
The what, sir?
Rarity of human form of life.
Rarity.
Human form of life is very rare. But like contrast this with like in India there is population explosion.
Not only of humans is there population explosion. There's population explosion of mosquitoes, dogs. I'm sure there's more dogs in India than there were 20 years ago. They don't bother to do a census, but human form of life is very rare. Prabhupada said that the jiva is present in every cell. There are trillions and trillions of cells in every human body. So with the increase of one human body on this planet, there is an increase of trillions of jivas within the cells. Then?
I was just trying to understand how come then human form of life is so rare and like
What's the world population? How much they say it is? 7 billion or something? It was 5 billion when I was a kid, and I didn't bother to check back on the general knowledge. I don't have to do these tests, general knowledge, so I don't know what it is. What do they say it is? 7 billion. Is it? Yeah, that was a good guess. It was 5 billion when I was a kid, so it's about 7 billion now. So that's nothing. Eta Brahmanda Bhari Ananta Jivagam Chaurasi Lakha Jonite Kariye Brahman. Within this Brahmanda there are unlimited. Ananta here means asankhya, uncountable jivas. What's 7 billion? It's nothing. There's far more than 7 billion jivas inhabiting bodies, even within our own one body. Then, any other question? Do I mean to say? Well, I said it and I meant to say it. I wasn't speaking cryptically. How do we say the soul is present in the heart? Because the cell doesn't have a heart. Well, the exact word used in Bhagavad Gita is Hriddesh, the area of the heart, which in a human being or in animals that are species that have hearts, that means where the actual Hridaya is. But then we Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. Within every living body, within the Sarva Bhuta. So that also includes the plants. So Hriddesh means the area of the heart, which means, as we can take it in this context, where the soul is present in the body, that place the Paramatma is also present. You understand? The soul is present within the body. The presence of the soul, or this seat of the soul, is the area of the heart. So that may be in another species, in the plant species. That may be not exactly, there is no heart cavity. But the soul is there, otherwise how is the plant growing? And the super soul is also there.
doesn't necessarily mean that. You see, here we have the term Sarva Bhuteshu, in every living being, and we have Hriddesha, within the region of the heart. So if this appears to be contradictory, that not every living being has a heart as such, then it requires us to understand it, just like we say, the cowherd men's residences on the Ganga. So you say, on the Ganga, well if it's a residence, how is it on the Ganga? It means it's being washed over. Then we understand it means on the bank of the Ganga. This is how language works. Not only in Sanskrit, in English also. Gangayam Ghosha in Sanskrit means the residences of the cowherd people on the Ganga. So in the same thing in English, if you say, where is your house? On the Ganga. So it could mean you live on a houseboat, but generally it will be taken to mean that you have a house on the bank of the Ganga. Even though it's not explicitly stated, it's understood. Then, anything else? So, we'll finish this class at this point. And from this point, continue with other activities of Krishna conscious, and in this way gain the benefit which can be obtained in this rare human form of life. Hare Krishna.